Welcome back to Benny's Custom Works, proudly supported by Valvoline and Sparesbox. Don't forget BCW5 on checkout. This week, we're fixing Adam's carnage. Last time we were at the track, Adam, in the last run, put this thing over a ripple strip and tore the sump up pretty bad to the point where there was a constant stream of oil out of it. It wasn't even a drip. I have, in the interim, just put some quick steel on it to seal the sump up, just mainly so A, it doesn't leak all over the floor at the shop, and B, so I can move it in and out. So yeah, it's now oil tight, and it would probably be okay to take to the track. But that being said, these VH45s are getting hard to come by, so for the sake of a couple of hours of repairing the sump correctly, I don't really want to rely on that quick steel, because it is in the lowest point and it could just be knocked off again on another ripple strip. So the plan today is actually going to be to basically knock the sump out, repair the crack, and actually put like a skid plate on the sump as well. So yeah, there's going to be a bit of pulling apart, a bit of fabricating, a bit of bad welding, and lots of yelling. So let's get to it. Yeah, that was weird. Uh-oh, it's too tall. So we've got our engine support brace in place now. For those with a keen eye will notice that the engine is too tall, but it's not a massive issue, because what I'm going to do is basically strap the engine to this beam and then lower the whole thing until the beam touches the rail. We've only got about 25 millimeters or an inch between the beam and the strut tower at the moment. So once that's in place, all that's going to mean is when we lift the engine cross member back up, is the twisty stands effectively will lift the engine back in place, and we'll end up in this same position once it's all reinstalled, which won't really be an issue. And we're not relying on like the extractors or something hanging up on the chassis rails to hold everything in position. And yeah, dropping down that 25 millimeters really isn't going to be an issue at all as far as the engine placement is concerned. So we're not going to be straining any wiring or any other mountings or anything. So that'll be pretty easy, and we'll just be able to lift it all back in place and bolt it together, and hopefully it'll still make whirt noises at the end. So as I mentioned before, I used some of this Permatex steel weld to repair the sump. This is the patch I've put on it, and normally I would just leave this on here if it wasn't such a low-hanging part of the sump. But it is a concern that that's probably going to get sheared off anyway. So being that I'm going to have to weld effectively a protective panel to the sump, I'm just also going to weld that corner up at the same time. There's a few other little thin spots here that once I actually knock the bowl of this sump out, I'd say will probably leak as well. So no doubt there's going to be a little bit of welding on this thing today. But yeah, it's had a hard life, and hopefully with a bit more love and care, it'll keep on going. But Adam's doing his best to kill it. But this thing's more reliable than my car at the moment, so I can't really throw stones. Wow, it's pretty bashed in. It's definitely a lot better. It's not punched in anymore. Like it would be nice to get that up there a little bit more, but I think for the amount of effort versus return, I think we'll just leave it. There's where it's worn through effectively, which is going to be a prick to repair. I might just put a patch in there because I can't really get, oh yeah, there's no way I'll get to that because it's a separate wing on the sump. I don't even know why they've done that. Yeah, there's absolutely no way to get to that to knock it back out. fixture table. So even with that stripping wheel, it's opened that hole right up. Like it's definitely going to be a challenge to weld that because there's no way to get to the back of it to prop that up. So it's definitely going to be a lot of seagull landing on that one, but it is what it is. We've got all of our steel cut out. This is a basic shape of where it's going to end up at. Obviously, we've got our relief for our sump plug. I've also made this little cutout. It almost looks like a thumb. It's going to cover where the actual worst part of the damage was on the sump. Now, rather than try and actually weld this tiny little hole up, I could do it with either a MIG or a TIG, but rather than actually just spend hours trying to weld that up and then dress it down and then weld it to this, I'm just going to actually put this little thumb piece over the top and weld primarily to the 3mm and then just kind of walk the wire down into the sump area. That'll basically create a patch because unfortunately you can't actually get to the back section of this whole piece. It's obviously been added on to the sump. I'm not exactly sure why it's a separate piece, but yeah, there's actually no way of getting to this piece and knocking it back. So yeah, this little patch piece will go in. Then once that's fully welded, gonna go on with the sump saver and hopefully weld it all together and it won't look horrible, but that remains to be seen. me to put the steering bolt back in, kids? The last thing to do today is replace our aero catch. Unfortunately, these things do break from time to time, and someone got a little bit overzealous trying to open it, not understanding quite how they work and sort of operate, as opposed to other bonnet pins that the further you push, the more they undo. These ones you kind of get in the right position and you just push down and they release. I've made them super tight so that they don't do weird stuff. But yeah, this one was broken, and now we have a replacement, so we're going to chuck that on, and then it's going to be all happy days, because without the handle it's very hard to use, and it also doesn't lock, so we're going to fix that now. Well, that's another episode in the bag. Got the Sylvia sorted again for Adam to kickflip it another day. Actually really happy with how that turned out. I was a little bit sort of concerned. There was a few things that I'd kind of forgotten to actually check the clearance of, with the proximity of the front hump of the sump to the cross member, and also basically the repair section that we put in proximity to the sway bar. Luckily I fluked it, but if you are going to do something like this at home, make sure you check all that out before you go cutting or moving or welding. Because I didn't, and I got lucky, but it could have been pulling the car apart twice and re-welding stuff again and pretending it never happened, just like the magic of Hollywood. But all things considered, it's come out really well, and we'll be able to thrash this thing around again. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.